I found my wife's secret wedding ring, engraved with another man's name, while packing for our honeymoon. Hi, Reddit. I'm sitting here in my silent apartment, 3 weeks after what was supposed to be the start of my life with Anna, and I think I've unraveled a mystery that was happening right under my nose. The silence is so loud it's deafening, and every creak of the floorboards feels like an echo of the life I thought I had. Let me start from the beginning because the devil, as they say, is in the details, and I've been living in a hell of my own ignorance for far too long. Anna and I dated for 2 years. The wedding was 3 weeks ago. It was picture perfect. She was radiant in a simple, elegant white dress. Her smile so genuine it could have convinced anyone, even me, the biggest fool of all. I was the happiest man alive, completely blind to the performance she was orchestrating. We met at a friend's birthday party. She was standing alone by the balcony, looking out at the city lights, and I was struck by an air of intriguing sadness about her. She told me later she was just thinking about the past. Now I know she was probably thinking about him. Noah. Our courtship was intense. She was passionate, a little mysterious, always holding a piece of herself back, which I mistook for depth. She made me feel like I was the one who had finally cracked her code, the one who had saved her from a previous life of unhappiness. She spoke of her ex, Noah, only in vague, dismissive terms. A chapter that needed to be closed, she'd said. He was possessive, and it was toxic. I'm so glad I found something real with you. I ate it up. I felt like a hero. We paid for most of the wedding ourselves. I used a significant chunk of my savings, a nest egg I'd been building since I started my career. It was meant to be a down payment on our future house. But seeing her plan every detail with such fervor, her eyes lighting up at flower arrangements and table settings, made it seem like a worthy investment. I now realize it was an investment in her performance, a set design for the grand play she was staging. For our honeymoon, she was insistent, almost unnervingly so, on this specific secluded resort in the mountains. It was called the Eyrie. She showed me pictures for months. Stone cabins perched on cliffs, misty forests that swallowed sound, natural hot springs shrouded in steam. It was expensive and remote with spotty cell service. At the time, I thought her desire for isolation was romantic. A place to be completely alone, just the two of us, away from the world, she'd whispered, her head on my shoulder. I now understand the isolation served a far more practical purpose for her plans. I booked it for 10 days. Our flight was yesterday. The excitement in the days leading up to it was palpable, but now, looking back, it was a different kind of energy coming from her. It wasn't the giddy anticipation of a new bride. It was the focused intensity of a soldier preparing for a mission. The day before we left, I was finishing my packing. Anna was out for one last girls' day with Lisa, her best friend. I've since come to understand that Lisa wasn't just a friend. She was a co-conspirator, an audience for Anna's secret life. Anna had already packed her large, hard-shell suitcase, which was sitting open on the bed in our guest room. I was being helpful, or so I thought, and decided to move it to the doorway so it would be ready to go. As I lifted it, I heard a faint, muffled rattle from inside. It sounded like something small and hard was loose in one of the compartments, rolling against the fabric. I figured it might be a necklace clasp or a pair of earrings she'd forgotten to secure in her jewelry case. I didn't want anything to get broken, so I unzipped the main compartment. Her clothes were neatly folded, smelling of her perfume, a scent I loved, but that now makes me nauseous. I checked the side pockets. Nothing. Then I ran my hands along the lining of the lid. My fingers brushed against a slight bulge. Upon closer inspection, I found a small, expertly hidden zippered pocket sewn into the fabric. I never knew it existed. My fingers, clumsy with a growing, unnamed dread, fumbled with the zipper. Inside was a small, black velvet box. My heart did a little flip. A surprise for me? A honeymoon gift? A watch, perhaps, or cufflinks? A part of me, the part that was still blindly in love, clung to this simple, hopeful explanation. I smiled, a fragile, fleeting thing, and opened the box. It wasn't a gift for me. Inside was a woman's wedding band. It was beautiful, old-worldly, crafted from woven white gold in a complex, Celtic-inspired pattern. But it wasn't the ring I had put on her finger 3 weeks ago. That ring was a simple, modern platinum band we'd chosen together. This was different, antique, personal, and it was engraved. I held it up to the light from the window. On the inside of the band, in delicate looping script, were 2 words, "Forever, Noah, Noah." The name hit me like a physical blow. Her ex-boyfriend, the possessive one from the closed chapter, the one who was supposedly married to someone else now, living in another state. My mind went into a dizzying, nauseating spin. Why did she have this? Why was it hidden in a secret pocket in her honeymoon suitcase? Was an old ring he'd given her that she was sentimentally, pathetically, unable to let go of? But it looked pristine, not like a relic from a failed relationship. The engraving looked fresh, the cuts in the gold sharp and clean. A coldness seeped into my bones. I took a picture of the ring with my phone, my hands shaking so badly I had to take 3 attempts to get a clear shot. Then I carefully placed it back in the box, back in the hidden pocket, and zipped everything up. I moved the suitcase to the door as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. The foundation of my entire world had just been vaporized. When Anna came home, she was bubbly and excited, her cheeks flushed. "I can't believe we're leaving tomorrow," she said, throwing her arms around my neck. I hugged her back, but my body was stiff, unyielding wood. "Are you okay?" she asked, pulling away to search my face. Her eyes, once the windows to a soul I thought I knew, now looked like expertly painted glass. "Just pre-trip jitters." I lied, the words ash in my mouth. "All the logistics. You know how I get." She stood on her toes and kissed my cheek. "Don't worry. It's going to be perfect. The most perfect trip of our lives." That night, I lay beside her in the dark, listening to her steady, untroubled breathing. I felt like I was lying next to a stranger, a beautiful, sleeping viper. I went over every interaction, every conversation about Noah. She had always been the one to bring him up, to frame him as the villain in her past, thereby making me the hero of her present. It was a classic manipulation, and I had fallen for it completely. She said she'd blocked him everywhere. I had believed her. Why wouldn't I? Trust is the bedrock of a relationship. I just didn't know I was building my house on a sinkhole. The next day, the flight was long and torturous. Anna was chatty, pointing out clouds, making elaborate plans for what we'd do first at the resort. A hike to a waterfall, a couple's massage, a romantic dinner under the stars. I played along, nodding and smiling, but my mind was a prison. "Forever, Noah." The words were a taunting mantra, a worm burrowing into my brain. We arrived at the Eyrie. It was as stunning as the pictures, a paradise carved into the side of a mountain. But to me, it felt like a movie set, beautiful but utterly fake and faintly sinister. Our cabin, the Eagle's Nest, was the most isolated at the very end of a winding pine needle-strewn path. "See? Total privacy," Anna said, beaming as she unlocked the door. "No witnesses," I thought. We settled in. The first evening was unnervingly normal. We had a gourmet dinner delivered to the cabin. We talked about trivial things. We went to bed. But I was watching her, studying every flicker of her eyes, every absent-minded touch to her phone, which she kept face down on the table. On the morning of our second day, she announced she was going to take a long, luxurious bath in the giant stone soaking tub that overlooked a vertiginous drop into the valley. The mountain view is incredible from there, she said, stretching. I need to relax all my pre-wedding nerves away. I nodded, pretending to be engrossed in a novel I couldn't read. As soon as I heard the water running, the lock on the bathroom door clicking shut, I moved. Her purse was slung over the back of a rustic wooden chair. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I felt like a thief, a spy in my own life, a role I never wanted to play. I found her phone. I didn't know the passcode, but I saw she had it set to unlock with her fingerprint. This was a violation I never thought I'd commit, a line I never imagined crossing. But the hidden ring had already redrawn all the lines. I waited, listening to the gentle splash of water from the bathroom. Then I crept to the door, which was slightly ajar. "Anna," I called out, my voice sounding strangely normal. "Yeah, honey," she replied, her voice echoing slightly in the tiled room. "I'm just going to step outside on the deck for some fresh air for a minute. The view is calling to me." "Okay, sweetie. It's beautiful out there. Don't fall off the cliff." She laughed, a light, carefree sound that made my skin crawl. I slipped back to her phone. Using a technique I'd vaguely remembered reading about, I carefully pressed the side button to bring up the passcode screen. Then, holding my breath, I gently took her thumb, which was resting on the edge of the sink, still damp and pruned from the bathwater, and pressed it against the home button. The phone unlocked with a soft click. A surge of self-loathing and cold adrenaline washed over me. I went straight to her messaging apps. iMessage, WhatsApp. Nothing obvious with Noah. Her contacts were clean. But then I saw a folder labeled Utilities. It held apps like a calculator, a voice recorder, and a compass. And among them, a messaging app one didn't recognize. It was called Signal. My hands turned to ice. I opened it. It opened directly to a conversation list. There was only one, with a contact saved as in. The messages scrolling up from months ago made the cold in my bones solidify into permafrost. It started about 8 months ago, just a week after I had proposed on a beach at sunset. She had cried tears of joy. They must have been tears of triumph. "N, heard you're engaged. Congratulations." The tone was sarcastic, bitter. "Anna, don't be like that. You know it doesn't change anything. It makes everything possible. N, it changes everything. You're marrying him. You're going to be his wife. Anna, it's a means to an end. His family has money. He's stable, predictable. It gives us the perfect cover. Once we're married, I'll have access. We could be together properly, with a real future. N, I'm tired of waiting. My divorce is almost final. This is killing me. Anna, I know, my love. I know. Just a little longer. The prenup he wants is simple, but after the wedding, I'll be in a much better position. We can disappear. Start over. Far away from here." The messages went on, a detailed, chilling blueprint of betrayal. Our marriage was a sham, a strategic move for her. She never loved me. She saw me as a stepping stone, a source of stability, and, crucially, funds to eventually run away with Noah. The honeymoon location wasn't chosen for romance. It was chosen for its remoteness. It was a test run, a place where she could potentially disappear without a trace, where a hiking accident could be easily arranged. The thought made me vomit into my mouth, forcing me to swallow back bile. The most recent messages were from the day before we left. "And are you sure about this? This feels risky. Anna, I'm more sure than ever. This is it, the final act. Meet me at the spot we discussed on the third day. I'll have what we need. It'll be enough to disappear for a long, long time. And I'll be there. Forever. Anna, forever." I felt the world drop out from under me. The what we need had to be money. Our joint account, my savings. She had access now. As my wife, she could clean out our accounts, and by the time I noticed, she'd be gone. The hidden ring, it wasn't a memento. It was her real wedding ring, the one she would wear when she started her new, stolen life with him. The bathwater drained with a loud gurgle. I quickly closed the app, forced the phone to shut down, and placed it back exactly as it was, angling it just so on the table. I stumbled outside onto the cabin's deck, gripping the rough wooden railing so hard a splinter dug into my palm. I gasped for air, the stunning, mist-shrouded valley below a mocking painting of serenity. She came out later, wrapped in a plush robe, her skin flushed from the heat, smelling of lavender bath oils. "You've been out here a while," she said, putting a warm hand on my back. I flinched violently. She noticed. Her eyes narrowed a fraction. "Something wrong?" The question was casual, but her gaze was sharp, analytical. I had to think fast. My original, naive plan of confronting her was suicide. If she knew I was onto them, they might just take everything and run immediately, or worse, the hiking accident might happen sooner than planned. I had to be smarter. I had to play the fool for a little while longer. I just got a weird email from my bank. I stammered, inventing a lie on the spot. Something about suspicious, large withdrawal attempts on my personal savings account. They've locked it as a precaution. I need to call them. It's my main account, the one with the house down payment. Her face tightened for a fraction of a second, a flash of pure, unguarded panic before the mask of wifely concern slipped seamlessly back on. "Oh no, is it serious? How much?" "I don't know yet. I need to find a strong signal to call them. The Wi-Fi in the cabin is too spotty for a call. I might have to go to the main lodge." This was my excuse, my escape hatch, my chance to act. "Of course, honey, go," she said, but her eyes were no longer on me. They were darting around, calculating, reevaluating the timeline. "Sort it out. I'll start getting ready for our hike." I took my laptop and wallet and practically ran to the resort's main lobby, a beautiful, timber-framed building with reliable internet. My first call wasn't to the bank. It was to my older brother, Mark, a level-headed lawyer who lived 2 time zones away. I called his personal cell, and when he answered, the words tumbled out of me in a low, frantic, jumbled whisper. I told him about the ring, the messages, the plan to drain my accounts and disappear. He was silent for a long, terrifying moment. "Jesus Christ," he finally said, his voice grim. "This is fraud. This is premeditated. You need to protect yourself. Now, right now." With his calm, legal-minded guidance, we worked with a terrifying efficiency. I called my bank, verified my identity through a series of intense security questions, and moved every penny of my personal savings, the bulk of my money, which was thankfully still in an account solely in my name, into a brand new, high-security account at a different bank, one Anna had never heard of. I then called the bank that held our small joint account for wedding gifts and had it completely frozen, citing a suspected case of marital fraud. I canceled all my credit cards and had new ones issued to Mark's office address. With each action, a heavy, leaden weight of finality settled in my stomach. Next, I called the airline. I changed my return flight to one leaving that very night, a red-eye with 2 connections. Then, with a cold, steady hand, I canceled Anna's return ticket. It was bought with my frequent flyer miles and my credit card. It was mine to cancel. I was stranding her. The thought brought no pleasure, only a stark, necessary sense of self-preservation. My final call was to Anna's parents. I was calm, eerily, unnervingly so, the calm of someone who has moved beyond shock into a new, desolate reality. "There will be no marriage," I said, my voice flat. "Anna has been planning to defraud me and abandon me here with her ex-boyfriend, Noah. The marriage is a fraud. It is over. I am leaving tonight. She is stranded. You will need to deal with her." I hung up amid their sputtering, confused protests, cutting off the connection to that part of my life. I returned to the cabin. Anna was pacing, her phone in her hand. She looked up, her face a tight mask of forced calm. "Well, what did the bank say?" "I fixed it," I said, my voice still that dead, flat tone. "It was a false alarm. A system error. Everything's fine." I walked past her and started deliberately packing my bag. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice sharpening, losing its pleasant wife filter. "I'm leaving." Her confusion seemed genuine for a moment, a masterpiece of acting. "Leaving? What do you mean? Leaving for a hike? It's almost evening. I'm leaving the resort. I'm leaving the country. I'm leaving you." The transformation was instant and terrifying. The caring, concerned wife vanished, replaced by a cold, furious stranger I had never seen before. Her eyes hardened into chips of flint. "You went through my phone?" she hissed, the venom in her voice so potent it felt physical. "You were planning to rob me and leave me for dead on our honeymoon." I shot back, my own anger, my own devastation, finally breaking through the icy calm. "Our entire marriage is a lie. You're a con artist." She didn't deny it. There was no point. Instead, she screamed at me a guttural, raw sound. She called me every name imaginable. Insecure, controlling, a pathetic, boring fool. She accused me of ruining her one chance at true happiness. She said Noah was her soulmate, her destiny, and I was just a convenient mark, a wallet with a pulse. She tried to block the door, her body rigid with fury, but I simply pushed past her, my larger frame easily moving her aside. "I've frozen all the accounts. I've canceled your ticket. Your parents know everything. It's over." The look of pure, unadulterated hatred that contorted her beautiful face is something I will never forget, a snapshot from a nightmare. It was the look of a predator whose prey had just fought back. I walked out, didn't look back, got a taxi to the airport, and spent the next 20 hours in a numb, hollowed-out daze, flying home to a life that no longer existed. That was 3 weeks ago. I'm back in my apartment. The silence is deafening. My phone was a torrent of abuse from her family, from Lisa. They called me a monster, a coward, saying I'd overreacted to cold feet, that I'd humiliated and abandoned her in a foreign country. I have not responded to a single message. I listened to a few voicemails. One from her was a masterpiece of manipulation, sobbing about how I'd misunderstood her friendship with Noah, followed by another where she screamed that she hoped I died alone. I saved them all. "I've hired a lawyer, the best my brother could recommend. We are filing for an annulment on the grounds of fraud, not a divorce. There's a difference. A divorce ends a marriage. An annulment declares it never legally existed in the first place. That's what I want. I want to erase it." I provided my lawyer with the photo of the ring and the detailed, time-stamped notes I took of the messages the second I got to the airport lounge. "It's more than enough," he says. "We are also exploring criminal charges for conspiracy to commit fraud." I changed the locks the day I got back. The house feels different, like it's been violated. I boxed up all the wedding photos, the trinkets, everything that was hers or ours, and put them in the garage. I can't bear to look at them. Yesterday, through a mutual friend who saw through Anna's web of lies and reached out to me, I learned what happened after I left. Anna, stranded and penniless, had to call her parents, crying hysterically, to wire her money for a new, exorbitantly priced last-minute flight home. The kicker? Noah, apparently, never showed up at the spot. When her grand plan collapsed and she was left holding the bag, he ghosted her. The friend said Anna is back in our city, living with her parents, and is reportedly devastated and furious, a pariah in her own social circle as the truth slowly leaks out. Her perfect plan ended in utter, humiliating failure. I feel no satisfaction, only a profound and weary sense of relief, like a man who has just stepped off a runaway train seconds before it plunged off a cliff. I dodged a bullet that was aimed directly at my heart, my finances, and my entire future. The woman I loved never existed. She was a phantom, a character played by a brilliant, ruthless con artist with a hidden agenda. So, Reddit, I'm not sure what to do now. Or maybe I've already done it. The legal wheels are in motion. The healing, I suppose, has to start sometime. I need to know if I am the one for leaving her there, for exposing her sinister plan, for protecting myself from a predator in a wedding dress. I feel like I was living in a thriller novel, and I was just a pawn on the board, a disposable asset. Now, the game is over, the board is overturned, and I'm just left sitting in the silence, surrounded by the scattered, broken pieces of my former life, trying to figure out how to build a new one from the wreckage. The trust is gone. The love is a bitter memory. All that's left is the truth and the long, slow road ahead.